So in the last class, just I was discussing the reasons which makes Python suddenly super popular, right? Very less coding, simple and easy syntaxes. So most of the programmers or developers are migrating towards Python because of its very less code, simple and easy syntaxes, multi-programming features, interactive mode. We can interact with Python statement by statement, right? And wide varieties of applications. We can develop any type of applications using Python. It's general purpose programming language where any kind of applications can be developed, and many built-in libraries, many built-in modules you can see, many built-in functions you can see, right? Python supports nearly 89,300 inbuilt modules for various domains, right? Now, I'll go with the basics of Python. All right, starting with the Python Software Foundation, PSF. We need to know something about the PSF before we go with the Python versions and installations, right? Yes. PSF, Python Software Foundation. Okay. PSF, it is Python Software Foundation. It is a non-profit organization. Non-profit organization devoted towards Python community. The non-profit organization devoted towards Python community. It was launched in the year It was launched in the year 2001. The main objective of Python Software Foundation to faster the development of Python. So version to version, faster the development of Python. In the year 2004, right? PSF, Python Software Foundation, received Computer World Horizon Award. The president for this is nothing but the personality who developed or who introduced Python, right? The founder of Python, Guido van Rosen. The same person is the president for this Python Software Foundation, Guido van Rosen. He is the president for this, and headquarters, where are the headquarters of this, right? In Delaware, USA, right? In Delaware, USA. Official website of this Python, official website of Python. Official website of www.python.org. This is the official website of Python from where we are going to download Python and we are going to install Python, right? Official website, this python.org is the official website from where we can download and from where we can install Python, right? Yes. So it is a non-profit organization launched in the year 2001, 20 years ago. And our main objective is to foster the development of Python. So this would award like Computer World Horizon Award. President is the Guido van Rosen. Headquarters in Delaware, USA. Python.org is the official website from where we can download and install. You can see the documentation for Python, right, within that site. Python versions. Before we go with the Python installation, right, Python versions. So we have got like Python 1.x version, Python 1.x, 1.1, 1.2, 1. Like, released in the year 1990. Python 2.x version, released in the year 2000, right? 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. The first two versions released in the year 2000. The current version that what we are using is 3 version, right? 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 in this way, like it was released in the year 2008, almost like 14 years ago. It was introduced 3 version. Latest version of Python, right? The version that what we are using currently is Python 3.10. Python 3.10, right? Stable version of Python. Right? Yes. Python 3.7. Stable version in the sense mostly used version, right? Yes. Previous stable version, right? Yes. Python 2.7 is mostly used, right? Python 2.7. Okay. So we'll see the installation of Python 3.10, the latest version of Python. Okay. Python installation, right? Python installation. Okay. It hardly takes 2 to 3 minutes for installing Python. So how to download, how to install this? Okay. So before I go with that download and installation process, 1 second. Go to the apps. Python 3.10, uninstall it, right? Uninstall it. First uninstall that version, right? Already it's available in my system. I'll uninstall and again I'll show you the downloading and installation process, right? So Python provides different softwares for different environments, right? Means for Windows separate software, for Linux, for Mac OS separate software Python is providing, right? Even for the Windows, right? For 32-bit separate software, for 64-bit Python provides separate software, right? Okay. Let the installation go. I'm minimizing it, right? 1 second. Yes. So whenever right click this PC and properties, right click in PCs and properties, right? Yes. Okay. So here if you observe the system type, right? 64-bit operating system. I think if you're 64-bit, I think most of your systems like 64-bit. If you're using like Windows 7 or this Windows 7 or 8, right? Might be having like 32-bit. This 64-bit operating system, right? If it is 64-bit, we are supposed to download 64-bit Python software. If it is showing 32-bit here, if it is 32-bit operating system, then we are supposed to download 32-bit Python software. Yes. Uninstallation was successful. Close it. Right. Yes. So you are asking the difference between, okay, 1, 2. Okay. So actually Python functionalities during this course, right? The Python functionalities, we have got many functionalities, right? What are the changes? If you know about those functionalities, I can differentiate, right? Okay. In the course, when we are working with this, right? During this course, right? I'll be differentiating if any particular functionality previously, how it was now in the latest version, how it was changed or modified, right? I'll be just demonstrating those difference between these 2 versions, 3 versions, and the previous version, right? During the course. So I will download Python now. Now downloading Python, right? Downloading and installing Python. For downloading Python, right? For downloading Python, just go to this Google, right? Yes, go to this Google, right? Now say, which is the official website of Python? So Python was introduced in the year 1989. Observe here, Python was introduced in the year 1989 by Guido van Rossum. Almost like more than 30 years back, Python was introduced. But Python has got great boom, especially from the last 3-4 years, right? Widely used, many varieties of applications. Okay. So www.python.org. Python.org is the official website of Python, from where we can download this Python. Python.org. Okay, this is the official website of Python, from where we can download Python and can see the documentation for each and every release. Documentation in the sense, so if you go to this documentation, docs, you can click it. Python docs. What's new in Python 3.10? What's new in Python 3.10? You can just check, right? What are the release highlights? What are the new features you see with examples they will provide, right? Error messages, and what are the other, what are the various new features you can see, and with examples. All this, right? New features, like, okay. New models, what are the new models introduced? Improved models. Anything if it is deprecated or removed, those also, what are the things removed from the previous versions? So deprecated are the things which got removed, right? Removed. So everything you can see, everything can go through this documentation for every version, right? You can see this documentation Python provides. What are the new things? What are the things which got removed, which are deprecated, which are going to get removed, everything, right? Now go to this download site, downloads all releases, downloads all releases, right? Okay, once you got all releases, you can scroll down, right? Active Python releases is there, right? And looking for a specific release. Looking for a specific release. Looking for a specific release. 3.10.4 March 24, 2022. Almost like 1 month back it was released, right? March 24, 2022. We can see all the Python releases from the last 20 years, right? From the last one, you can see all these Python versions. Just if you can observe this, all the versions, Python versions from the last 20 years. Python 2.0, June 22, 2001, June 2001, right? Yes. Just first click this, right? Which one you want to install, which version you want to install. Select that version, Python 3.10.4, right? Click that version, right? And scroll down at the last, at the bottom, you can see the files. At the bottom, you can see the files. Python installer 32-bit, Python installer 64-bit. If Windows is 32 or 64, based on which you can select this. If your Windows is a 32-bit, select 32-bit. Right click your my computer or PC, right click on that and you can check, right, it is available whether it is 32 or 64-bit operating system. 64-bit, right? 64-bit. Okay, you can download this. Just click it, your download will start. It is like 27 MB of size. The Python software size is of 27 MB. So you can Python supports 89,300 inbuilt modules. All those thousands of modules you are not going to see in this Python software. All these thousands of modules you won't see in this Python software, right? Only like commonly used modules you'll be able to, only the commonly used modules, right? So other modules which are not available in the Python software, later we'll be downloading and we'll be installing it, right? By using a component called a pip. Later I'll be demonstrating, right, about how to download and how to install external modules, advanced modules, right? Like data science related, database related, the other advanced modules. Okay, Python 3.10.4, right? Yes. Its download is finished. You can just click it, click this, right? A window opens. A window is going to open in this manner, right? Yes. Okay. Don't immediately go for installation. At the bottom, you can say add Python 3.10 to path. Add Python 3.10 to path, right? Select that. Adding Python 3.10 to path. Yes. After click, go for customize installation. Nothing to select in this documentation. You are going to get a pip, which is going to install, which is used for installing any module which is not available in this Python software. Ideally integrated development environment. That's where we can write the Python code and the Python test suite. Nothing to select in this. Just say next, and here also advanced options. Nothing to select in this, but installation location, right? Installation location, where it is getting installed by default. Just check it where it is getting installed by default. In C, users, Dell, app data, local, programs, Python, Python 3.10, right? Yes. It is getting installed somewhere in some subdirectories, right? Users, Dell, app data, local, programs, Python. Tomorrow, if you want to locate the location where this Python is available, you need to enter into all these subdirectories, right? So instead of this, you can just install Python within the C drive. Just remove all this, right? Sorry, remove all this, remove all this, remove all this, and just say install Python in the C drive, C/Python 3.10. Okay, C/Python 3.10. Just say install. your installation starts, right? Just it hardly takes 1 minute to install Python. Once it gets completed, let us check whether Python is successfully installed or not, right? 3.10.4 is the version, right, that we are using. And those who wants to work with Python within the Linux environment, no need of any separate installation. By default, they get Python along with just Linux OS like Ubuntu OS, CentOS, or Red Hat Linux. Right? Python will be seen as inbuilt. Close. Now check it whether Python is successfully installed or not, right? Okay, just at the bottom in the search options available, right? Here you can type CMD and say enter CMD, and the bot go to the command prompt and just type Python and say enter, right? Whenever you say enter, the version should be displayed 3.10.4 and the Python interpreter gets opened, right? Yes, Python interpreter will be open. So here you can type any valid Python statements. Python supports interactive mode 3+3. I'm asking it gives the response. 5 into 7, it gives the response, right? Any valid Python statements, x equal to Ajay, y equal to Kumar, x plus y pencil Ajay. So any valid Python statements you can type and you can interact here, right? Statement by statement, we call like interactive mode. Next. So Python is installed fine, it's working fine, right? Now Python execution modes. Python execution modes, two modes of execution, right? Two modes of execution. Interactive mode. Second is what? Batch mode. Interactive mode and batch mode. Interactive mode, right? Here we directly type. Here we directly type Python statements. Python statements, right? Here we directly type Python statements on the interpreter, and the user can easily interact, and the user can easily interact. We directly type Python statements on the interpreter, and the user can easily interact with Python. The advantage of interactive mode, just now I said that interactive mode, what advantage we see with this mode? To test, we won't see this interactive mode in other programming languages, line by line execution, testing the functionalities of Python, right? The advantage is to test the functionalities of Python. If it doesn't have knowledge in any particular functionality, you can just type it on that interactive mode and you can check what output it is going to provide. to test the functionalities of Python and to learn Python. Test the functionalities of Python and to learn Python. But this interactive mode only for testing the functionalities and for learning, and as a beginner it works better, right? But for developing applications, interactive mode is not preferred. We go for batch mode, right? A batch of statements where we write batch of statements, set of statements, right? Here we write batch of statements. Here we write batch of statements within the editors or IDs. We write batch of statements within the editors or IDs and save it. And save it by using .py extension. And save it by using .py extension and later submit it to Python. We write set of statements, batch of statements within the editors or IDs and save it by using .py extension and later submit it to Python. What are the various editors and what are the various IDs where we can write the Python code? Various editors, right? Various editors where we can write the Python code. Within the notepad, you can write this .py file, Python file, right? Within the edit plus, we can write a Python file. Edit plus. Within the Linux environment, VI editor, nano editor, right? So within the Windows, we can use Notepad, we can use Edit plus, we can use for creating Python file. In Linux, we can use for VI and nano editor, right? Okay. Okay. Next, what are the various IDEs? Integrated Development Environment, right? IDE indicates what? In real time, we go for IDEs. What are the various IDEs? Like the PyCharm, PyDev, many IDs are there for Python. PyDev, Komodo, Spider, Spider IDE, Eclipse, NetBeans, Jupyter, Jupyter Notebook, Atom, VS Code, PyCharm, PyDev, Komodo, Spider, Eclipse, NetBeans, Jupyter Notebook, Atom, VS Code, right? Yes. PyCharm is the mostly used ID. PyCharm is the mostly used one. Among all this, PyCharm is the mostly used one, right? So you may ask why these many IDs for Python, why not one or two, right? Python used for different environments, right? Different environments uses different IDs. If you talk about data science, talk about the data science, right? Like mostly like Jupyter Notebook is preferred, Spider ID is preferred. Even for big data, right? Spider is mostly preferred. Even Jupyter Notebook is mostly preferred. And for typical web applications with Python, right, PyCharm is mostly preferred. Atom VS Code, right? I'll show you like how to download and how to install and how to work on these IDs once we are done with a little bit of technical content. Okay. Developing the first Python application. Developing the Python application within a editor, right? Developing the Python application within the editor. First, I'll show you within the editor how we can write the code and how to execute the code within the editor. Example editor like a notepad. If you take the example of notepad, right? Yes. Open notepad and type the following Python statements. Open the and type the following Python statements, right? Okay. As of now, we are not done with any of this Python, right? We didn't do anything of Python. So just what I do, I'll take two values, x as 10 and y as 20. And I want to perform some kind of arithmetic operations. Want to perform some addition, subtraction, multiplication, right? And division. X plus y, x minus y, x into y, and x by y, right? Okay, I'll copy this to a separate notepad file. I want to perform these arithmetic operations. So just open this notepad. Let's open notepad and type the following statements. This statements, right? Yes. Now, just to save it, file, save. I created a separate folder for this batch, right? Go to the C drive. In the C drive, like Python 6am, right? Python 6am. And within this sample1.py, sample1.py, right? Okay. .py. Okay. Fine. I'm writing here. Save it as sample1.py. Now submitting this file to Python. Now submitting this file to Python as okay. Now go to this command prompt, right? Python. Okay, Python is there, right? Python C colon. So just give the path where your Python file is available. Submitting that file to Python, right? Within the C drive. Yes. Slash Python 6am batch, right? Python 6am. Within that folder, right? We have got sample1.py, the file name, right? Sample1.py, right? Okay. The file name, the direct folder, the drive. So in which drive, in which folder, the file name, submit to Python. Enter. It will display. You cannot find Python 6am. Sample1, right? It is sample1, right? So just type Python C drive slash Python 6am, right? Slash sample1.py, right? Yes. Now if you say enter, it will say 10 plus 20 output. 10 minus 20, 10 into 20. 10 by 20. You got the output, right? So just to give that path where the file is available in which folder with time. Okay, but here what is your observation? But here we are writing the code. What is your observe? We are writing the code, right? At one place and executing at other place, right? We are writing the code at one place and executing at other place. We are writing the code within this notepad. We are writing the code at one place and executing at the other place. Other place means what? Command prompt. And executing at the other place, command prompt. But to write and execute, but to write and execute at the same place, we have IDLE, right? Which comes along with Python, installation. Using which we can work with both the modes. To write and execute at the same place, we have IDLE, which comes along with the Python installation, using which we can work with both the modes. I'll show you like how to open this IDLE, and how to write the code and how to execute the code. And say, what is the drawback we see here? In the notepad, we are writing the code at one place within the notepad and executing at the other place, right? Within the command prompt. But I want to write and execute same place, right? For that, go with this IDLE, which comes along with Python installation. Go to the start programs. Within that, check for this, right? Check where your Python 3.10, Python 3.10. What is the first thing you see here? IDLE, right? Open it. Just type your code, right? This is this code I want to write. The same code. Whenever you say like open IDLE, you will get this shell. Python shell gets open. Once again, just observe, go to start programs, check where your Python is available here. Python 3.10. The first thing what we see IDLE. Okay, this Python shell gets open in interactive mode. Python shell, this we call it as Python shell 3.10.4. This 3 arrow symbol where you can perform interactive mode, right? 3 plus 3, 5 into 7, x as 10, x into 2, x to the power of 2, 10 square. In this way, you can interact with Python. So if you want to work with batch mode, say file, new file, say file, new file. That's it. Here itself, we can write the code. Here itself, we can execute the code. Here itself, we can write the code and execute the code. Right? Yes. Okay, just write the code here. Here itself, run option is available, right? Run option. You can run the code. First, save it, file, save. Python 6 a.m. right? Yes. sample2.py. You can save it. Here itself we can run module, right? And see it's 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. Here itself we can write. Here itself we can run module, right? Execute. Yes, right. So this is what how to write the code within this interactive mode and batch mode. Later, once we are done with some little bit of technical content, right? I'll just show you like how to work within this IDs, right? How to work within this IDs. Yes. Okay. So later I'll discuss like working with these IDs like PyCharm ID, Spider ID, Jupyter Notebook, all this. So next line. Okay. Okay. Python data types. Python data types, right? Yes. Every organization use case. Every organization use case has got data and operations, right? As for data and operations. Data represented using data represented using data types or variables. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented operations. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Just observe this example, right? Yes. If you take the example of any organization, like example like bank. Bank consists of what? Customers and employees, right? customers and employees. Customers has got both data and operations, right? Data and operations. Data like customer name, account number, balance 90,000. Customer name, account number, balance, branch. So this is what customers data. Data represented using data types are variables. Data types are variables, right? Yes. And operations, like what kind of operations you can perform, like withdraw operation, deposit operation, transfer operation, right? All these are represented using functions, but later we discuss about these functions. For discussion is like data types or variables. Why we go for data types? And for employees also we have got a data and operations, right? Data and operations. Data like employee ID, employee name, designation, employee ID, employee name, salary 80,760.40, right? So this data represented using data types are variables. Data types are variables. And operations represented using functions. Okay, fine. So data types, more discussion on this data types, right? We'll discuss in the tomorrow session. I'll brief you about this data types and variables of Python. So today just we are discussing Python software foundations, Python PSF, right? Python versions, Python installation, Python execution mode, interactive mode, and batch mode. Okay. Any queries as part of today's session, right? Anyone? So tomorrow also you can attend the session to see more on this Python, right? Everyone, you can attend this. You can follow the same link and same time, right? See more on this Python, like fundamentals, like what happens internally when you are defining some variables, where it is getting stored, how this memory is allocated for them, to print the content or to print the address or to print the type. How we can do that, right? Okay. Yeah, any queries you got as part of today's, everyone, you can just check it, download, and you can install Python, right, by today. So we can install Python in any platform, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, right? Even if you got a smartphone, you can install Python within this smartphone, right? Mobile phone. You can go to the Play Store and just type Python IDE. Many IDs will be providing. You can just select anyone and you can install, and you can write your code and execute the code within this mobile phone also, right? Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. Any query? Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. One doubt. For example, I developed the Python code in the 3.7 version. And can I run the 3.10 that same code again? This works.
You can install multiple versions. You can install multiple versions of Python in your system, not a problem, right? So just observe here in my system, I got multiple Pythons installed, 3.9 available, 3.10 also available. If I want to work with 3.10, I'll just click and say ideally 3, it opens in 3.10. You can observe this ideal shell 3.10, right? If I want to open 3.9 and work on this 3.9, yes, I can just go to this Python 3.9 and click this ideally. It opens in 3.9, right? Ideally.
Okay, sir, understand. But my code is developed 3.9. Can I run new version? There is any problem? No problem.
You can open the code in any version, right? See, anything, any 3 version is fine, right? Any version above 3.5, it's fine. You won't see much changes, okay? Small changes you can observe.
Advanced version means so added the features.
3. You can go with 3.9 or 10. 3.9 version or 3.10. 3. Anything about 3.7 also fine, right? 3.7, 9, 10. So they work the same. You won't see much changes. Small changes will be same, but anything is fine. 3.7 or 9 or 10.
10 also it's working.
3.10 is fine. Yeah, that last, okay, as these are the sessions, right? Okay, we'll be starting at 6 o'clock and we'll be ending at 7 o'clock, right? Daily. We'll start at 6 and we'll end at 7, right? Yes. Yeah. So okay, you can attend the session tomorrow also, right? Same time with the same link, 16 more, right? So I'm stopping here for today. Meet you tomorrow, same time. Yes.